Is this just fantasy? Of course not. Nothing's just fantasy. This is Kroma by Lorenzo de Felici. So some of you may know the name Lorenzo de Felici from his work on Void Rivals, which is about Transformers, I'm hearing. And he did this, or this actually came out right before that happened. And part of me wishes it kind of happened concurrently or after, because I would want more people to have read this. I'm not sure how widely known it is, but I really love this book. This is a fascinating and fairly unique world to explore, and it is entirely Lorenzo de Felici's creation and execution. And I'm excited to talk about it. I'm going to try not to spoil anything because there's 4 issues. This is all of it. This is the complete journey, and it's got a variety of different covers here, but it is a gorgeous book. And with the name like Kroma, you may have correctly guessed that color is an important feature of it. And by important, I mean that it is a plot point. So more so than just color is symbolic, or color is a element that the artist uses to add to the storytelling. Color is the story. And like I said, I'm going to try my best to not spoil anything, and I'm just going to highlight a few of the key details of the world, and also to highlight, if I can, the reasons that I love it and the reasons that I think more people should find it. And I believe it's come out in a trade at this point, or I'm assuming so, because it's been out for a little while now. So this is number 1, and it's such a fascinating world. So right away, we're treated to some gorgeous color. Lorenzo de Felici, again, he's the creator, the writer, and the artist. We have a letterer with Russ Wooten, logo designed by Andre Juarez, editor Sean Makiewicz, and designer Jillian Crabb, and a whole host of really great artists on covers. And throughout the entire run, there's some really great cover artists. I mean, I just love to get James Herron here. So, it's a lush, colorful world. And I've said it many times that the rendering of the natural world is essential to a great fantasy comic, because the natural world is an important component to it. And what we have here is we have this beautiful forest, beautiful bird, and we have this very gray, almost militaristic looking outpost, and this kind of carnivorous looking, it almost looks like the head almost looks like a condor or something like that. And we have this little kind of finch or robin with much more color on it flying around. And of course, robin, or this bird, gets killed high above this town that is gray. And that red blood comes down, and this kid discovers it. So what is an important part of the story, and the basic idea, is this society exists in a deliberately colorless world, as in they, over a long period of time, have bred color out of themselves, as well as built a world that is without color. And that is because there are animals out there in the wild, out there in the wider world, where color essentially triggers their, like they're hunted basically, or they hunt based on color, and would die or are attacked based on color, and so they have insulated themselves from that world by remaining essentially black and white. And one really smart thing that Lorenzo does is it's not black and it's not just black, white, and gray in even in this section, this portion of the story where we're in this world. There's still a little hue to it. There's still a little blue to it. And oftentimes when he shows the sky as part of a scene, even if it's in this black and white village, the sky is blue. So that's like, things that they have no control over, they can't handle or they can't help. And I'm sure, of course, their blood is still red. So, and it seems like this is a world that they've crafted over time, and it wasn't always like this, but it is like this now, and people just kind of live in this world and accept that it is devoid essentially of color. And there's a whole mythology, and like this day that we are arriving on is significant to their belief system, which is that there's a king up on a nearby mountain, or essentially like a godlike figure who's like the king of color, and he's punished them for a perceived infraction where I believe a human thought that they could come up with their own color without him, and because of that he created these monsters to essentially kill them, and so they are living in defiance of this king or this god. And as a form of worship, they, I'm assuming annually, have this ceremony where they kind of crack this big egg and a beast comes out that the whole town's supposed to beat up, essentially. And by beating it up, they are voicing their rejection of the god of color and his monsters. And these little kids, these little boys are little, I think, orphans, and they are essentially the helpers of this high priest. And this high priest looks like he has like horns and stuff, but that's actually this like clay that he like puts in his hair, and he molds it to have this look about him. And it's a super fascinating thing, and there's no real explanation for like why he does that. It's what the priest does. And I really love that. I love that as far as like world building, where it's like, oh, this is just the custom. But yeah, so that's the day we've arrived on, is this ceremony. And of course, Lorenzo builds in these little moments of color, and the king of colors he's called, and it's all about this act of defiance, and out of this artificial egg, this creature comes, and the it's got this kind of like crocodile looking head, and that's because the creatures that they're principally afraid of have kind of this crocodilian look, and that's these guys, which I love these things. They got these 3 eyes. Yeah, anything crocodilian I'm gonna love, but or reptilian, but yeah, really awesome. Also a gorgeous cover, huh? Anyway, so this thing comes out, and then it goes running, and they basically, the mob is supposed to chase it. And when they get to it, they are gonna like beat it, essentially, and it's this symbolic form of rejection. And again, fascinating little bit of world building as it comes to like faith and religious practices. I love coming up with that kind of stuff in my own work. but I also love seeing people doing creative things, because it's like, oh yeah, human beings are like that. Yeah, we do that. We it's the classic scapegoat, or the sacrificial animal. But we get little hints that, I mean, clearly this isn't a creature, even though everybody here is acting like it is one, because like you can see within its mouth, there's another mouth, the mouth of a person, and you can even see an eye in this eye, and it's clearly like a person's in there, and it's running for its life, and it's getting it gets beat up really bad, and then they have to stop. And when one of the helpers goes nearby, he notices that there's a kid inside, and she has colorful eyes. Specifically, she has heterochromia, so she's got a blue eye and a green eye. And it's just this terrifying horror to him. And it recalls, I guess, the death. I believe it recalls the death of his own mother, who was found with basically a dead bird, like holding it because she thought it was pretty. And it's upsetting. And I also love the division of like, this is what outside color gray looks like, and then inside it's kind of got this little kind of greenish hue. And I just, it's smart. It's a smart way to differentiate. And here he is washing the clay out of his hair and getting it brushed out. And then he decides, because he's upset by what he saw, by the eyes he saw, and so he decides he's going to investigate, because the creature, which is kept in this kind of forbidden tower, the creature that they beat up, and he decides he's going to go and investigate. And once he goes there, he is so shocked to hear that it speaks, and that it's, basically that it's this little girl. And he is just aghast because of how he was brought up, but he's also just recognizing her humanity. And it's just really tragic, because she's been raised to believe that she's a monster, and that she's undeserving of any sympathy, and that she's part of the curse. And then here we have a breakdown of the mythology in a more direct sense. And I love the fact that he decided to draw it as like a medieval manuscript, because it's brought out. It's like a tapestry or a large sheet. And basically, here we have the king of color. Everything was harmony, and then one person decides, I'm going to invent a new color, and then the king was furious, and so he created these monsters, and so then they had to shield themselves in a world without color. And I just love also how this can't have color in it, and so we get a rainbow here of gray, but it represents it well, and it tells it interestingly. And I love the little flourishes on the side. Just such a really fascinatingly told story. And I also love that, just outside, it's a colorful world, and even the night sky and everything, so color exists around them, but they are just not allowed to have it on them because of these creatures. And so this first issue takes place primarily in the city, and so it's setting up essentially a lot of what grows as the issues go on, which is the person of the monster, you could say, and the fact that she needs to learn more about herself and her place in the world beyond what this culture has told her. And the fact that they do have to go out into the world to forage is this dangerous place. And we get this horrifying sense that there's this dark underbelly happening in their pristine little world. And the red blood that this guy reveals, you could say, calls upon these creatures, which hunt based on color. So it's, again, further cementing why they need to stay as black and white as possible. And yeah, they're also enormous, by the way. Enormous. It's so cool. So yeah, we have just a fascinating world that we're setting up, and we have some really interesting characters, great art. And that, I've been going through it, but like just the line work is beautiful. The coloring itself is beautiful. Just not just like the color usage, but how it's rendered. He's just created such a rich world, and it's just fun to explore and learn more about. And I think that's why this particular story needed to be visual, and I think needed to be a comic. And so, yeah, this is a kind of story that you're not going to get in anywhere else. And so for people who are fans of fantasy, open yourself up to comics, because you're going to get stuff that's so unique to the format, to the medium, that you can't find it anywhere else. And I think these characters are great. I think the world is so fascinating, and I just think that it is such a great vision. And I hope that this little look at it, which that's all I'm going to show, because I want you to read it. I hope you're intrigued by it. But yeah, I think Kroma is just a gorgeous work of an artist, of a creator. And I really would love if more people were fans of it and would read it, because I would love to see more stuff like this come out. So that is Kroma issue 1, and I believe it's all collected at this point. And you know what else is all collected? My comic, Sidequesters. This is the first volume. It is the first complete story arc, the first 8 issues. And I use the color an awful lot too, and I even use it in hopefully I say exciting and interesting ways, especially when it comes to action scenes and stuff. But this collects. But anyway, you should check it out. It's on my website if you want to buy it. You can also read it on Global Comics, and you can also check out things that have less color in them, which are my Haxan volumes, which are mostly black and white stories that deal with witchcraft. It takes place in the same universe as Sidequesters, although these have color and used in specific ways. But anyway, you can find these on my website or also on Global Comics. And if you like stuff that's a little more colorful, then you can check out 3-Panel Origin, which is using the 4-color process of old school comics. And I create a character and tell their origin in 3 panels, but usually it's silly and awkward, like Dr. Snakehead, MD, where he was an aspiring medical student, got his degree, and became a doctor. That's an origin, folks. And then also with that is a book of short stories that deal with the same silly characters. So if you like this is more your speed, you can find this on my website as well. In the end, though, I'm here to sing the praises of Kroma, and you should check it out.